What's the world gonna look like in 20 years? Or what if I told you that the future already exists because the world's smartest people are busy dreaming it and building it? The future is coming fast, and your world will never be the same.
They're scientists, but they've got only one thing on their minds. And if they get their way, sex will never be the same again. Turn yourself on by remote control.
She said, "You're going to have to teach my husband how to do that."
Shack up with a hot robot and start an android family. Touch your distant lover's body with sensual strokes of light.
You're just watching patterns of light starting to appear on your body that are being drawn by your partner somewhere else.
Forget texting and emailing. Send a hug through the internet.
Did that actually feel as good as my hug?
Have a cocktail, and maybe more, with an avatar.
Are you sure you don't want to be alone?
Hit a spit party. Yes, a spit party to find your perfect partner.
Cheek swabs.
And when he says he loves you, scan his brain to see if the love is real.
Let's jump to the future of sex.
Imagine what the future holds. Airborne taxis, cities that flow, puppies on a hovercraft, leap-powered homes. Imagine what the future holds. Fabulous science, the future behold.
My name is Baratunde Thurston. As a journalist and blogger, I've made it my business to keep my finger on the pulse of technological change. What's the world gonna look like in 2030? Get ready to see the future.
When you think about sex, science doesn't automatically pop into your mind, but it will. Research and technology are rapidly changing our sex lives. But before we commit to our future lovers, we'll use DNA to find our perfect genetic match. Program our android partners with the latest software updates. And create new ways to reach out and touch our long-distance lovers that will light up their lives. Some futuristic foreplay for the 21st century. Our first stop on the love train begins in the Beantown dating scene. But dating ain't what it used to be. Dinner and a movie takes time. How about some Twitter and texting? Technology's made it easier to meet people, but it's made it harder to know people. And if you don't know someone, it's kind of hard to know who's the one. But what if you could meet someone and know instantly if they were a good match? I've been invited to a spit party tonight. Instead of martinis to help break the ice, our master of ceremonies is letting DNA do all the work.
Okay, Eric, this is supposed to be a party, and we're in the middle of an empty room. What's going on?
It will be a party. You're just a little bit early, but that's okay because we need a sample of your DNA.
And that's what this is for?
Yes.
I'll be right back.
So this is the future of finding that special someone. Spit parties. They go something like this.
When somebody signs up for the website, we send them out a DNA collection kit, which primarily consists of a cotton swab, which you rub on the inside of your mouth.
Okay.
And we collect cheek cells. We're looking for people that have different immune system genes from our own.
People with opposite immune system genes are genetically compatible, so opposites attract. And studies show these couples have better sex lives, and the women have higher rates of orgasm and lower rates of infidelity. So bring on the cheek swabs.
Nature's objective in doing that is to create the healthiest children.
So if one parent is kind of got defenses against A, B, and C, and another parent has defenses against D, E, and F, presumably their child can cover the range of A through F.
That's exactly right.
A spit party isn't just about cheek swabs. Guests also need to be nosier, because it turns out you can actually smell a good genetic match.
we all have an odor, or a natural body fragrance.
I can attest to that.
That's as unique as our fingerprints.
Okay.
And they're determined by these immune system genes. The smell is a mechanism by which we can recognize a good mate. So people that have similar immune system genes to yourself don't smell very attractive to you.
So when I smell someone and to me they smell bad, it's not necessarily just a representation of bad hygiene. It could be they're a bad genetic match for me.
That's exactly right.
Now the genes themselves aren't producing the smell. Where does the smell come from?
When you sweat, the sweat doesn't smell. But the bacteria ingests the sweat and then it excretes the waste. And it's that waste that actually has an odor.
Ew!
Whoa, too much information.
We have your best matches, but we thought it might be interesting if you might be able to figure out who they are before I tell you.
And I'm gonna do that by smelling?
Going around and sniffing.
I'm gonna go smell some ladies right now. I feel really weird doing this. Bad, not bad. I don't think this is the way it's supposed to work.
Oh my.
Okay, I understand that smells are genetic clues to compatibility. I understand the natural drive to reproduce. But what about the other factors that go into a healthy relationship? Personality, favorite sports teams. What does science say about that?
Unfortunately, we're not to the scientific point yet where we can predict who will fall in love with who. So the mystery of love is still alive and well.
Okay.
What we are able to do, though, is to take off the 80% or so people that we're probably not going to have good chemistry with. In fact, you could be a perfect genetic match with somebody and not fall in love with them. There's even a good chance you won't even like them.
Yeah, maybe they fell asleep during the Matrix or something.
Exactly.
Right,
And
just
then they
for
would be
example.
off the table
Yeah.
completely. All right, so how did it go?
I actually think I have a pretty good idea of who I'm most compatible with. I sniffed a bunch of ladies, had some reactions. There was a wide range. Like some people did not smell good. I hate to say it, but I didn't find them smell attractive or something. Some were kind of neutral and some actually smelled really nice.
To find out how genetically accurate my nose is, Eric gives me a behind-the-scenes look at some DNA compatibility test results.
Now, what are you actually matching? There are a bunch of genes out there. What are you specifically looking at?
We look specifically at the immune system genes, and in particular, they're known as the MHC genes.
MHC.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have a total of 6 genetic values that we're looking at here.
Okay.
We are looking for people that don't share any common values.
A perfect pair. These two don't share any of the same values, genetically speaking. Then, Eric shows me a pair of DNA strands that should probably just be friends.
We can see that person A has 4402.
4402 is always causing trouble.
Now, let's see how this love science adds up for my love life.
We found a match for you.
Okay.
It's a perfect match.
Great.
And as you can see, none of her genetic values match any of your genetic values.
She's beautiful. I can tell you because we have a nice mix with the 0301. You drop in the 4403 with a little twist of 0701. That's genetic diversity right there.
Turns out my perfect genetic match from the party is one of the women who smells good to me, Naomi.
I knew this was
Did you just smell me?
Yeah,
Did you just smell me? I think she just smelled me.
sorry,
I think she just smelled me.
So science can help you sniff out the best candidates. A lifetime membership for this service costs less than a cruise. Not a bad price for a perfect partner and a great sex life.
20 years down the road, I think we're going to get better at figuring out exactly genetically what we're looking for in a partner. There are probably a lot of genetic characteristics that we're not aware of yet that we also look for in a mate that can be quantified, defined, and then used to match people.
So in the next decade, couples will skip all of the awkward guessing games of dating. Before we decide whether to swap saliva, we'll stop and swab our own. Instant DNA sticks will cut to the chase. Because when it comes to genetic matchmaking, it's what's inside that counts.
Genetic information and analysis promise to answer many of life's big questions. Where did our ancestors come from? What diseases are we most susceptible to? And as we just found out from Eric Holzel at Scientific Match, even who are our ideal partners? How far will we go with all this extra information? Will we refuse to go on a date with someone because their genetic profile doesn't match ours? These are interesting questions that we're going to be forced to answer, and I'm excited and a little anxious to see how it all is going to play out.
I'm heading to Tokyo, Japan to find the ultimate companion, a relationship that's guaranteed, at least for parts and labor. Her name is Repili Q2. She looks and feels human. Her interests are moonlight walks on the beach and weekly lube jobs. But don't get fresh. She may be an android, but she's still her own woman. Repili Q2 is the lovely face of what's called human-robot relationships. Mechanisms we once thought of as appliances will soon become our friends, our family, and our dates. Her creator is Professor Hiroshi Ishiguro of the Intelligent Robots Lab at Osaka University.
Our finding is if a robot has a very rich the interactive behaviors, the people can feel the emotion. So emotion is not objective, it's a subjective phenomenon.
Eventually, androids may even refuse to be treated like an object. They'll become so lifelike, we won't know who's human and who's machine. Maybe it won't matter. Relationships take time, and in today's demanding world, we often feel there isn't enough of us to go around. Well, Professor Ishiguro has a solution. An extra helping of himself. A robot twin called Geminoid.
The practical use of a Geminoid is, for example, if I send my Geminoid to the conference, I don't need to go to foreign countries. So I guess this is better than the airplane, and we can save much time.
Okay, there are two rules when designing androids. The first, they have to look and feel human. The second, and this is where cognitive science comes in, they have to act human. Actually, there's a third called the zeroth law of robotics, but I don't have time to explain that to y'all.
Geminoid is a hybrid system robot. It obeys commands, but it can also function on its own.
The autonomous function generates the small movement and the human-like eye movement and the eye blinking. And the teleoperated function is to control the large movement. In addition to that, the Geminoid system can send the operator's voice through the internet. The operator can naturally control the Geminoid.
We've all been so busy at some point that we wanted a stand-in. Well, it may not be long before you can order a spare to do one job while you're off doing another.
My wife seriously answered to the questions, which is better, myself or Geminoid. So my wife said, Geminoid is better because I'm quite busy and I'm not at home.
Now, as you can see, I've got my own Android right here. This is Baratunde 2. Does my taxes, approves my Facebook friends, deals with all my spam, goes to meetings I could not afford to be at. But it's kind of buggy. Sometimes he just wanders off.
Taken to its logical conclusion, we could end up having robomates as lovers and even set up home for baby bots. This automated offspring called CB² is equipped with 51 air-powered motors and 197 tactile sensors under a soft, light gray silicone skin covering its body. CB² measures about 4 feet 3 inches tall and weighs 73 pounds, the size of a third grader. But it behaves more like an infant. Yeah, a little creepy, but...
So when I developed the CB², my purpose was to develop something in between a human and a machine. People like to care some small things, pets and babies. And if the robot has the developmental function, right, that will be very fun for the people.
Professor Ishiguro says CB² can teach us how interactions like language and gazing help develop social relationships during childhood, a helpful lesson in parenting and a way to fulfill the need to nurture without having to deal with nature. Programmed to learn like an infant, the robot can memorize facial expressions and associate them with physical sensations. Even so, most of us won't be boring our friends with wallet photos of this guy. CB Squared, Geminoid, and Repli Q2 aren't quite ready for your Christmas stocking, but their descendants may be part of our daily lives.
Personal computer suddenly changed our lifestyle completely. And I think the Android and the robot will be same as the personal computers. We may see the many robots, humanoids and androids in our daily life.
In the next 10 years, lonely people could be few and far between. Rather than sitting alone waiting for companionship to come our way, we'll just build our perfect robotic mates. We'll program them to laugh at our jokes, love our tender caress, and make us feel good where it counts. Love with a lifetime warranty.
We have to ask ourselves, what are we doing? Look, robots have been a part of our society for decades, but doing very specific tasks that we tell them. Find the bomb, build the car, clean my carpet. And I can see some value in adding human-like androids to our society, especially if they're gonna hold my place in line for the next iPhone. But adding emotions to robots? Robot children that need love? What about human orphan children that need love? Look, I love robots as much as the next guy. When I'm standing in front of this intimidating behemoth, I love them more than the next guy. But I'm not ready to love them. The future of human-robot relations? Scary stuff. Very scary stuff.
Technology has enhanced our sex lives ever since man invented the pickup line. Some gizmos look like fun, others like an industrial accident waiting to happen. Finally, the one machine we've all been waiting for has arrived. The Orgasmatron. The inventor of this sci-fi sex toy is Dr. Stuart Malloy. I volunteered to give this Orgasmatron thingy a test drive. I wasn't the only one in the waiting room.
So I understand you've developed an Orgasmatron, a real one. What is that?
Well, the official name is neurally augmented sexual function.
I prefer Orgasmatron, just for the record.
Dr. Malloy didn't plan on creating the Orgasmatron. He's an anesthesiologist specializing in pain management. He implants electrodes into patients' spines to neutralize sensation, not enhance it. But one day, something strange happened.
I was placing one of these devices, and we were in the operating room, and I placed the electrodes where I thought they needed to be. We turned the device on, and the patient let out something between a moan and a shriek, and of course we thought that she was uncomfortable from that stimulation, so we turned it off, and then, you know, with my hands gowned, I leaned around the drapes and I said, "What did you feel?" And when she caught her breath, she said, "You're going to have to teach my husband how to do that."
So she probably wanted you to turn it back on after that as well.
Well, we actually did, because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't some other factor that was causing this, but it seemed that every time we turned this on, she started having a climax.
No surprise that this discovery quickly made the good doctor a popular guy. After all, how many men can virtually guarantee results like Dr. Malloy's machine? The Orgasmatron consists of 3 parts, none of which sound sexy: electrodes, a generator, and a programmable remote control. In his office, Dr. Malloy implants electrodes into the epidural space and weaves them through the spinal canal, targeting the area between the first and second lumbar vertebrae. The electrodes interact with various nerve networks from the pelvis that enter the spinal highway near the tailbone. Stimulating those nerves shoots pleasure signals straight up to the part of the brain that processes information coming from the genitalia. The orgasm becomes on demand when Dr. Malloy inserts a generator just beneath the skin and sticks the electrodes into that. The generator communicates with a handheld remote control. The patient uses the remote control to literally turn themselves on and to control the intensity of the orgasm. Great, yet another reason to fight for the remote. While achieving orgasm at the push of a button sounds like frankensex, it's nice to see that science can really light up our lives.
You've described a lot of your patients so far as women. Is there a male application for the Orgasmatron?
Well, the device does work in men. I have not studied it formally the way we have in women, but I have enough experience to see that it does work in men.
So what does it feel like to have these electrodes poking around in your body? Is it tingly? Is it warm? Is it painful? Is it just weird?
Well, if the device is off, they don't feel anything. And the neat thing about this is that the sensation it produces is very customizable to the patient's perspective. So you can use a high frequency, which is kind of a tingling or buzzing sensation, or what most people seem to prefer is a lower frequency, where it's kind of that thump, thump, thump.
Okay.
You can also change the amplitude, which is kind of the volume.
Right. So can you crank it to 11?
Well, next week we're coming out with a spinal tap model, so we'll be able to do that. But you can also change the pulse width, which is in every on-off cycle, how long it's on.
So that's kind of the duration. You can have really quick beats versus kind of longer.
Exactly.
Since the Orgasmatron works for both genders, will it make a roll in the hay better or obsolete?
What I have seen is that strengthens, that relationships actually get strengthened. If you have one partner who's not getting something out of the sexual activity and that's restored, you've renewed interest in each other. And that's what makes a relationship strong.
So not just fixing orgasms, but the whole relationship, possibly?
Possibly, yeah.
Today, the Orgasmatron is surgically implanted, which might be worth it to treat sexual dysfunction, but it seems pretty drastic for the average pleasure seeker. But what if the Orgasmatron goes Wi-Fi and you can send impulses to the spine without the wiring? That delicious prospect may be only 10 years away. Anytime, anywhere, someone could push your buttons. After my visit with the doctor, I chat with a couple of ladies about their first time with the Orgasmatron.
There is so much fear associated with sex these days, with disease and multiple partners and things of that nature. And so it would be very, very beneficial to have a device like this.
Yeah.
You know, it would truly be a monogamous relationship. So
just you and your Orgasmatron.
That's right.
Do you think it could enhance or help out a relationship?
I think it's good for like long distance relationships. I'm in a long distance relationship and we can't see each other but maybe once or twice every 2 months.
So the ladies are in. And in the next 10 years, the Orgasmatron may be as common as the iPod or smartphone. Just don't try it while you drive.
People want to have a heightened experience, and this allows you to have a heightened sexual experience without the use of drugs. I think that the recreational use of this will be very commonplace.
So right now, this technology, comes out of a pain management center. It seems to be focused on sexual dysfunction. Do you see 5-10 years later as a much more recreational, much more accessible technology? Am I going to be wearing an Orgasmatron walking down the street?
Just like Viagra, I think there's going to be more interest in recreational applications than in the actual medical application. Okay. What I foresee is a series of centers throughout the world, places like Las Vegas or Los Angeles or Vancouver or Amsterdam or maybe even Sydney, where people would come to go on vacation and have one of these devices inserted so that they could experience it while they're in a relaxed atmosphere.
Yeah, really upgrade that vacation package, right? A remote-controlled device that heightens your sexual satisfaction. Now, one might think this would tear couples and relationships apart as partners selfishly press more, and more, but all evidence leads to the contrary, that relationships themselves are strengthened when both partners are satisfied.
Long-distance relationships are tough. How does a couple stay close if there is an ocean or a continent between them? When you can't see, smell, taste, or touch them. Phone calls and Facebook are no substitutes for spooning by a fireplace. But what if you could cuddle with your lover no matter where in the world they are? Mutsugato aims to do just that. It's a brand new technology created by Tomoko Hayashi and Stefan Agamanilis.
You use the same phone to talk to your partner as you do to talk to the pizza man or to a telemarketer and other people that you don't really care about. So we're just asking the question, why does that have to be? And we're taking the mobile phone and turning it on its head and trying something completely different.
Mutsugato uses light as a form of intimate touch to transmit caresses over the internet.
Normally when you're emailing each other in distance location, you're always staring at the screen and you always have to type on this plastic, really cold device. But with this Mutsugoto, you can actually touch your skin by your finger, stroking on your skin to communicate each other. So you can feel the sense of warmth.
Both lovers have the Mutsugato system in their rooms. They each lie on their beds wearing a touch-activated ring that is tracked by a camera above. A computer detects the movements of one lover's ring and projects them as pin strokes of light onto the body of the other.
And those drawings are actually transmitted live to your partner who's in the other location, and they appear on his or her skin there, and they can do the same thing in return. So you're kind of live drawing between two different locations on your beds.
A light caress becomes a caress of light. The tracings last for about 30 seconds and produce no physical sensation. The lines you draw appear solid on your bed, while they sparkle and flicker for the recipient. And when two caresses cross, the intersecting light tracings turn a passionate red, reflecting synchronicity. Mutsugato's romantic merging of vision and touch creates a new type of hybrid sense.
Whoa.
When you're lying on the bed in a very still way and you're just watching the patterns of light starting to appear on your body that are being drawn by your partner somewhere else, your mind kind of makes up the rest of that. It stops being just a light impression or a visual impression, and you may actually feel something traveling around your body. You're probably familiar with the slow food movement, which is kind of a reaction to the fast food movement. Fast food is very efficient, it's kind of served to you in a very robotic way, the quality's not so great, but it's enough to get the job done. And if you think about it, the mobile telephone is a little bit like fast food, because the quality's not so great, it's a one-size-fits-all kind of device. So what we're trying to do here is figure out what slow communication might be like, you know, the sort of opposite of the fast communication that we're all used to and that everybody uses now. So in slow communication, you have sort of more of a focus on the quality of the interaction and the sort of environment, controlling the entire environment so that there are no distractions to defocus you.
I've always been interested in five senses, but this Mutsugoto particularly, I focused on touch. Although you can't touch the person in distance location, it's almost like you want to touch the spirits of the person.
In the future, we're still going to be human beings and we're still going to have the same five senses that we're used to. It's just that technology is going to give us more opportunities to carry on relationships than we have right now.
This full-body interface beats pounding out sweet nothings on a keyboard. With Mutsugato, you really can reach out and touch someone. In the next 5 years, it won't be so hard to say goodbye. Intimacy will be wireless. Instead of shiny diamond rings, long-distance lovers will exchange shimmering Wi-Fi rings to keep them connected with sensual strokes of light. Couples who are apart will glow with love, and traces of passion will travel across the globe.
The ease of worldwide travel and the availability of digital networks have made it very popular to say the world is shrinking. But for people in relationships where you're apart for an extended period of time, we still feel the distance. Mutsugato doesn't try to recreate the intimacy of proximity. Instead, it creates a new type of connectivity, a new type of intimacy that only distance could inspire.
A lot of us might not believe science could detect true love. But Dr. Lucy Brown says she can.
When we think about where love is, a lot of us feel it in the heart, in our chest. But you're a neuroscientist, and you're looking at love in the brain.
So we're using functional MRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging.
That's the big scary tube, right?
That's the big scary tube. And it's just miraculous that we can see inside the brain of an awake, unanesthetized human who's we've instructed to think about their beloved.
When Dr. Brown looks for love inside the brain, she's searching for activity in 3 specific areas: the hypothalamus, the ventral tegmental area, and the ventral pallidum. But more of all that in a minute. First, I need a couple willing to put their love under a microscope. With New York at the forefront of technology and romance, all it takes are a few tweets and Facebook updates to get my guinea pigs. Meet Bridget and Gareth. They've been married for about a year and dated for a year before that.
So are you at all concerned that, his professed love for you won't necessarily be matched by what science says about his brain?
No, I don't think so.
No?
No.
What about you, Gareth?
I'm interested to see what science says, but I mean, I know how I feel. So that's all that really matters to me.
Aw, you guys are too cute! Well, let's go put science and your love in the MRI machine.
Yeah, let's see what color your brain glows.
Here's how it works. Both Gareth and I will be scanned while looking at a photo of Bridget. After 8 seconds, Dr. Brown flashes a large number and asks us to count backwards. Then we see a picture of a neutral face, like a friend, who doesn't evoke romantic feelings. This exercise clears blood from the brain and provides contrast for imaging. A love reset, if you will. Hit repeat about 48 times and you get the idea.
You're both going to be looking at Bridget's beautiful face. But Gareth, you're in love with her, and your brain should show something quite different from Baratunde's. So this is the way it's...
It will, okay? It will. He's quite a bit taller than me.
Dr. Lucy Brown says she can detect love in the brain using an fMRI. Gareth here is married to Bridget. He and I are going to look at Bridget's picture while having our brain scanned to see who has true love on the mind. It takes about 40 minutes to take the test and get the results. If all goes as expected, Gareth's brain will light up with activity, and mine should look like North Korea after dark. There are 3 areas of the brain that tend to light up when we see an image of someone who is, say, more than a friend. But only one of them is the true indicator of genuine amore.
You okay?
Who knew Charlie Brown's teacher was stuck in an MRI machine that entire time?
Area number 1 registers sex drive or lust. This wells up from deep down in the part of the brainstem called the hypothalamus. It fires off testosterone, which in turn makes us feel, let's call it frisky. But you can feel that way about a stranger. It's not a sign of true love. Brain region number 2 registers romance. It happens smack dab in the middle of the ventral tegmental area. The VTA cranks out dopamine, a hormone that fuels our pleasure system. It's what makes the sweet things in life, like food and sex, quite a bit sweeter. It's the feeling that drives the first year of a relationship. But the winner of true, long-lasting love is brain area number 3, which forms attachment. It's located in the ventral pallidum and pumps out oxytocin and vasopressin, 2 hormones that, when released, make us feel bonded to another person. Scientists believe that these hormones help keep us monogamous and attached to our partners. Now it's my brain's turn to be scanned for sex, romance, and attachment.
Personally, I think love is one of those things that's hard to quantify. So it's interesting to me that science is sort of getting to that point where they can start to see what exactly it is that your body's doing.
It's time to compare where our brains went on Dr. Brown's map of love. First up, Gareth's brain. And first stop, the hypothalamus. Gareth's lust for Bridget is alive, but it's not out of control climbing the walls lust. What about romance in the VTA?
Seems like a forest fire in there.
It's huge. It's a huge activation back here in the ventral tegmental area.
That forest fire means Gareth is definitely giddy for Bridget. His pleasure center is cooking. The romance is on fire. And now the moment of truth. Is Gareth deeply in love with Bridget for life?
This is the system that's active during attachment. The person who was looking at the pictures here was getting a tremendous kick. Definitely.
Very sweet. Gareth's ventral pallidum is pumping out those attachment hormones to keep his love for Bridget long-lasting and strong. I'm pretty relieved to find out my brain scan is far less exciting. I really didn't expect to be in love with Bridget. If the scan said I was, I'm not sure what I'd do. More importantly, I'm not sure what Gareth would do. Here is Gareth's brain, and here's mine. Or more to the point, this is your brain. This is your brain on love.
Congratulations, team. You're the proud owner of an in-love brain. You're the proud owner of an in-love husband.
Thank you. And you are a lucky man.
Yes, I am. That'd have been really weird. I have to run fast from this room.
While staring at nothing in the fMRI, I thought about the future of this technology. Will couples go with their own judgment or the machines? Will they have to get a brain scan before marriage, like a blood test today?
The more neuroscientists look at our brains, the more we realize that many of our emotional, psychological states have direct physical expression in the form of chemicals, hormones, and brain activity. Sure, we'll still ask our friends for advice and our parents for their blessing, but maybe we'll also ask our local MRI technician to do a scan just to be safe. Whether we think we want to or not, we're going to know a lot more about our brains and a lot more about love than we ever thought was possible.
There are few things in life more comforting or intimate than a nice, big hug.
Notice the
No technology. It was awesome.
At the Mixed Reality Lab in Tokyo, Japan, Dr. Adrian Chioke and his team are making it possible to reach out and hug someone, even if that someone isn't there.
Adrian, at this Mixed Reality Lab, you have a lot of strange things going on. I can't figure this one out. It looks like a cross between a torturous life vest, rain jacket. What is going on, and who is this?
Well, this is Nancy, my student,
Hey,
and
Nancy.
mixed reality is not just about visuals. It's also about mixing all of our senses with the virtual world,
Okay.
including touch.
Touch. So this is a touch vest.
That's right. Through the internet now, you can email someone, you can do video chat, but you can't touch someone, you can't hug someone. So with this...
Oh, sure you can. No. I've seen people do it all the time. You put a little asterisk, you say hug, and then you put another asterisk, and then they know you've sent them a hug.
It's so important for human communication to touch and hug each other.
So Justin Timberlake brought sexy back. You're bringing hugs back.
That's right.
How does this replicate a real hug?
And if you just give a hug.
My expert hug?
Yes. We did a study of expert huggers such as yourself,
Okay.
and where you put your hands is where we put our special hugging actuation system on the body.
Hugging actuation system.
So this system here will replicate the feeling of where you are.
So it's going to apply some pressure where my hands would be.
Exactly. It gives a kind of feeling of the human hand caress on your body, on the body.
Let's see it work.
With Nancy far, far away in another location, Adrian takes out a controller and transmits his virtual hug via the internet.
And then you can see that this hugging pajamas connected to the internet produces the hug in the same spot. We can both wear such jackets, and then interactively we can have a hugging and caressing together through the internet.
What if I wanted to smack it like, way to go, Nancy, yeah!
Then you can give
Can you send like a forceful pat on the back through the internet?
Yes, maybe the men's version or something, yeah.
Did that actually feel as good as my hug?
Very good. Very comfortable.
Wow. I'm one of the top huggers on the planet. Guaranteed. Top percentile in the world. I've been told. My mother told me. My sister told me. Girlfriends have told me. I'm a good hugger.
I don't know if that's good for your technology or bad for my hugs.
So you can see we can get the same caress like an expert hugger like yourself.
All right, thanks for playing to my hugging ego. I appreciate that.
Sometimes technology comes along to solve really obvious needs and obvious problems. Other times it gives you a hug actuating system. We all have been told that the internet globalizes communication, but communication is about more than text messages and audio files and video clips on YouTube. It's about the other senses that we have as human beings. It's about touch. And when you can have that connection across great distances, well, then you're making communication not just more faster, but also more human.
A lot of single people these days find their dates online. But we still have to run around town, waste money on overpriced drinks and food, and above all, run the risk of face-to-face rejection. Well, what if I told you that in the future, you won't just find your dates online, you'll go out with them online too. In fact, I have a virtual date right now. Ravit Abelman is the co-founder of OmniDate.com, a digital media company that transforms traditional dating sites into a 3D virtual dating experience.
Online dating is very popular. It's no longer a stigma. It's hit the mainstream, and a lot of my friends are doing it. But you're pushing something called virtual dating. Explain what that is and how it's different from online dating.
The current challenge in the online dating experience for singles is how do you get to know the person behind a profile? I help you interact with your date and in a way get to know that person behind the profile and then make a call.
With virtual dating, you don't have to settle for boring text profiles, chat rooms, or two-dimensional photo libraries.
Now, when you talk virtual environments, the first thing that comes to my mind is Second Life. How is what you're doing related to or different from what they're doing?
It's a great question because I often get that question or I get confused with Second Life.
Yeah.
We're very different to Second Life. Second Life is a virtual world for the purpose of a virtual life, virtual existence. OmniDate utilizes similar technology, virtual environments, to facilitate real life interactions in real time.
Okay.
So that is the difference.
So you're about bringing the online interaction to offline. And I can tell you, at least from my friends' experiences, that can be a tough leap. You're interacting with a lot of text, you're interacting almost with a database with a lot of these online dating services, and then you've got to make that investment.
Absolutely. We identified a huge gap in the online dating industry, and the gap was how do you move from reading one's profile to making a call whether you want to meet them face to face? It's almost impossible. It's text.
Yeah.
And text is almost, it's an equivalent of ingredients on a snack bar, right? You know what's in it because you just read all the information, but could you really imagine or experience how that snack would taste?
So you've gotten me interested. Can I go on a virtual date right now?
Absolutely.
And this probably means no changing of the shirt, no brushing my teeth, and most importantly, I don't have to wear pants. All right, let's go.
Let's go.
Step 1 of my virtual date is to choose an avatar. Online or off, you have to put your best face forward. And here, I can select from a menu of virtual man meat.
How about this one?
That guy's a little too nerdy for me.
I bet you he's smart.
I'm sure he's smart. He's just too much. This guy's pretty chill, but almost too chill for me. Looks like a surfer.
And this is you.
He's a lot closer to me. He's thoughtful. He's got his chin on his fist, deep in thought.
Right now, the avatar selection is kind of limited, but eventually, we'll make avatars in our own image, minus the nose hair and bad fashion sense. All that's coming, but for the moment, I'll have to use this guy, the thinker. Armed with my avatar, I enter the virtual dating world to find my cyber soulmate. And instead of field testing cheesy pickup lines, all I have to do is click on who I want as my first cyber date. Of course, she has to accept my invitation.
You have been invited on a date.
Phew! We're on. Now that I know the who, the next decision is the where. The virtual dating program randomly selects a location for our rendezvous, an oceanside bar at sunset. Nice. Like any first date, we start by getting to know each other. Only now, I don't have to worry if I have something in my teeth. Ravit's program has some cool features to make the experience more human. If you type LOL, your avatar laughs. If you hit the flirt button, your date knows things are getting hot. If there is a long, awkward silence, your date can yawn. There are also some icebreaker games you can play to get to know each other, all of which leads to the kiss permission button. If I want a little smooch, I can't just plunge in. She's not that kind of girl. I have to ask permission.
This goes beyond virtual dating. This is just good charm school.
This is going to old-fashioned dating where a guy actually asks a woman, may I please kiss you before he does?
I love that it's old-fashioned dating and we're on a laptop.
As the date progresses, things go from dial-up to broadband.
Oh, she's asked me a question. I don't want to leave her hanging. What's your favorite dish to cook? And then we got to do some.
She's making you work already.
Favorite? No, I'm going to answer the lady's question. I'm a gentleman. Favorite dish to cook is actually kale. In my experience, ladies really like kale.
You know, in my experience, women really like men that can make them a full meal.
Our cyber selves talk fine dining, play some games, and flirt under a perpetually setting sun. Then, things start to heat up. virtually speaking.
How do you feel about massages?
We don't have a lot of time. I just want to see, maybe if she's excited about that, that could be very interesting. If not, I'll know.
You guys are going way too fast. Are you sure you don't want to be alone? I think I better leave, it's becoming very personal.
Ravit, thank you so much for setting this up. I think I can take it from here.
I believe that in the near future, when technology will enable us to create a lot more sophisticated experiences, you probably would be able to do almost anything that you can do offline in a virtual environment.
We can get away with things in the online dating world that we could never even have a chance to try in the offline world. Things like a music playlist matchup, a virtual game, or my favorite possibility, going out without having to put on pants. Crazy. So what is the future of sex? Let's start with finding a partner, not at a bar, but at a cheek swabbing party where we narrow the field with genetic matchmaking. Then we'll want to test out the relationship on a virtual date, and for those who aren't people, actual virtual dates with an android. Now you want to assess the strength of that love, so you run over, get a functional MRI. Any questions? Probably like, how long will this love last, and can it sustain the rigors of time and space apart? That's where the Huggy Vest or Mutsugato come into play. And how do you take the relationship to the next level? Time for the Orgasmatron. You see, the future of sex, found faster, lasts longer, feels hotter.